to Lima, Ohio for the second week of monster truck action on the TNT Motorsports Monster Truck Series. Standing with me right now, a young man that has a dubious two honors that he's got to uphold tonight. Number one, he's going to be carrying this prestigious silver flag, indicates he's the winner of the last event. Plus, David Morris, driver of the Equalizer, is your current national points leader. David, it's your rookie year, but you're not acting like a rookie. You are controlling this sport right now. How are you going to keep doing that?
Well, Gary Cook, the owner, and I, and all the rest of the crew, we've been working hard to try to keep the truck going. As long as we can run consistent, we'll do pretty good in this.
I noticed during the rounds of eliminations, speaking of consistency, you're always working on the truck. Some of the other drivers just go back and let them set, but you guys are always working on the truck. Has that been a factor in getting you in the lead for the national points chase?
Yes, we always go over the truck and check it, just make sure everything is perfect before I go out for another run.
You had the national points lead before last week's event. You won last week's event. Now you have the points lead and the flag. And the flag is something that everybody's going to be trying to take away from you. What are you going to be doing to hang on to it?
I'm going to just run as hard as I can, but not push the truck over the limit. Just keep it up to the limit and run consistent.
Well, it looks good. From Lima, Ohio, the monster trucks are ready to do their thing. Stay tuned for plenty of truck and tractor pulling action on TNT Motorsports Tuff Trax.
And when we talk about pulling, we're going to take it inside to the beautiful new Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina. They buzz around here in basketball season with the Charlotte Hornets, but we're really going to turn up the noise in here with the TNT All-American Pulling Series here on Tuff Trax. Now, Ken Lamont, one of the best-known truck pullers in the country, he's a veteran pulling in the Midnight Express, will take his first ride in a modified tractor today, and we'll talk to Ken about that later on this edition of Tuff Trax. Also, the stars of modified tractor pulling will be coming your way. David Banner, John Carlton, John Heilman, Dave Walsh, and even a hometown favorite as Paul Norman rolls out the All-Pro Auto Parts War Wagon in front of the crowd in Charlotte. But after this break, it's qualifying highlights from Lima, Ohio on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge as the Monsters battle the clock here on Tuff Trax. Tuff Trax is brought to you by the Nintendo Entertainment System. Nintendo, now you're playing with power. We'll be right back. Cold eyes of the Jersey Outlaw, getting ready for Mike Wine to take this big monster truck into fierce competition. Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas, and welcome to Tuff Trax as we bring you all the thrills and competition of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. And to get it started, we've got highlights from the qualifying round. So to set it up, let's take a look at the way things stand on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge in the national points race coming into today's action here on Tuff Trax in Lima, Ohio. Equalizer is now the national points leader, and it's a 7-point lead over Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger make it really a 3-truck race right now for the top, although Nightlife and Mad Dog have been coming on. Wild Hair, John Moore's No Problem, Marvin Smith and Stomper, the defending national champ USA 1, and a very strong truck really making a move as of late, the Master of Disaster, rounding out the top 10. We're looking at qualifying action now. Lima, Ohio, the Allen County Fairgrounds. First up will be last week's winner, Army, carrying that silver flag, David Morris, and the Equalizer out of Springfield, Tennessee.
Like we said in the opening, Scott, Morris and his crew chief, David Cook, are serious about winning this national championship. A real smooth driver. He worked the left lane to perfection. 3 jumps, remember, on this event. Normally they just go over 2, and Morris is showing why he's going to be a contender this year.
David Morris at 12.42 gives him something to flat go after in qualifying at Lima. 12.42 for the Equalizer, and David Morris putting out an excellent time, trying to make it 2 in a row here on Tuff Trax. Now, next up, we're going to look at one of the Fords, the Jersey Outlaw Ford we got to look at a moment ago. Browns Mills, New Jersey, the hometown for Mike Wine and the Jersey Outlaw.
Well, now, Mike Wine is a hired driver. The truck is owned by Nick Rossi out of New Jersey, but business commitments will not allow Mick to stay on tour. He hired Mike to drive the truck. In his rookie year, he's doing an awfully good job. Now, they have a brand new engine in this truck. They had some problems with the engine last week. They've had some time to get it squared away, and as you can see, the Outlaw Ford is really trying to lay down a shot. Second jump, a little bit out of shape, goes across the finish line with a good qualifying time, Scott.
Probably a little bit too much air under him and a little out of shape at the end, but it only cost him a second or two. 14.62. Pretty decent run for the Jersey Outlaw Ford and Mike Wine out of Browns Mills, New Jersey. The guy that really wants a shot at equalizer is this fella here. Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher out of Wadesboro, North Carolina, wanting to get some vengeance for last week.
When we came into Lima, Ohio, he was carrying the silver flag. It is not on the truck now. Somebody took it away from him. He's going to take it back. Good qualifying run. A little bit of bounce out of the second jump. Straight shot on the final set of cars. That should qualify him up in the number 3 spot.
Excellent run for Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher, just off the equalizer's time, 12.82. Well, time for Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson to come out for his qualification attempt. And we took a moment to talk with the very likable Dennis Anderson, who has become one of the biggest stars in the sport today and certainly drives one of the most popular trucks, the Gravedigger. We asked Dennis about what he's doing at the starting line before he gets going and before a race begins.
Well, when I pull up to the line, I'm thinking about that light. I got to cut a good light to get off. And another thing, when I'm just before I stage up, I want to make sure that my transmission is all the way back in low gear.
So that's what he's doing right now as he gets ready to set up this qualifying attempt. Dennis Anderson trying to get a time that can nose out equalizer, and David Morris currently the fast time. Here he goes, Army.
Scott, he's got a good one going over the second set of cars. We could have quick qualifying time right here. Look at the final jump all the way over. Anderson flexing his muscle in Lima, Ohio. That could be quick qualifying time of the afternoon. Yeah, it is. Look at that, Scott.
12.26, Army, and even that's despite the fact that he seemed to get a lot of air under him on that last jump.
Yeah, but on the last jump, it's a crapshoot. You pull the trigger, you're going to go as quick and far as you can. Air hurts you on the first 2 jumps. Last jump is not going to affect you as much.
The popular T-shirt design being shown in Lima. Look at the air underneath of him, but as you mentioned, Army, he just let it all hang out, and it puts him on top in the qualification runs today. We're going to get a look now at Marvin Smith. As they love the Gravedigger in Lima, we'll see the Stomper Chevrolet out of Arnold, Missouri. And here's a guy who's got what it takes to put it together and maybe knows out the digger.
Yeah, he runs an alcohol-burning big block, supercharged Chevrolet, about 486 cubic inches. One of the crowd favorites, the kids out there. They really love that Stomper truck. Smith, a little bit of bounce coming off the second set of cars. Sets up good. I tell you what, Scott Douglas, they're attacking that finish line. That last set of cars is no man's land out there this afternoon.
Pretty good run, 13.72 for Marvin Smith's Stomper Chevrolet. That'll land him 4th. So the first round of competition is now set. Gravedigger, fast qualifier, will get a bye run. Buffalo Tremor we'll see coming back against Clydesdale. Then Carolina Crusher against the no-problem Ford Bronco. That ought to be a superb first-round matchup. And then to round things out, Stomper comes out against Playing for Keeps, and we'll come back against a fast loser later on. And the final 2 first-round matchups will send the Jersey Outlaw up against Walking Tall and then Equalizer, last week's winner, against Thunder Chicken. Boy, we've got some dandy first-round matchups coming up here on Tuff Trax. It'll be the first round when we come back to Lima, Ohio, and the Allen County Fairgrounds for more pounding, roaring action on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Don't you dare go away. This is television's most power-packed hour, Tuff Trax, bringing you all the excitement of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. I'm Scott Douglas and Army Armstrong, and we're back in Lima, Ohio. First round competition will start off, Army, with the bye run for our fast qualifier, Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger.
Dennis Anderson back in the driver's seat with that quick qualifying time. He ran his qualifying out of the left lane. He's taking his first round bye out of the right lane. The reason being he's just going to check the track out, not going to tear any equipment up. But I would imagine when eliminations come side by side, we're going to see him back on the left side of the track, Scott.
Just wanting to get a feel for that right side, and he did it there. So Gravedigger comes through with a bye run, and now we'll go on to the second round competition against the winner of our next matchup, which will see the Buffalo Tremor going up against Clydesdale. Now, Bennett Clark will take the Clydesdale out of Powder Springs, Georgia, into this next matchup. And again, his opponent will be that man right there, John Kwasniewski, and the Buffalo Tremor, going up against Clydesdale and Bennett Clark. And we got a chance to talk with Bennett Clark about what goes through his mind when he's at the starting line.
I'm watching now as he's directing me up to the line. He'll ease me up, and right when I get on the line, he'll give me the whole signal. Just when he gives me the whole signal, I check out all my gauges, make sure my fuel, my fans, everything's on. I look straight ahead to see where's, you know, if there's any thing that I need to avoid on the way out through there. And then as soon as I check all that out, I watch for the green light. When the green light comes on, we turn it on.
So that's what he's doing right now, Army. Didn't say a word about watching his opponent. He's just watching that green light and going to let it go from his lane.
No, in this sport, you cannot race your opponent. You got to race the lane. Race the track is what they call it. He's on the far side. Longest truck on the circuit. Look at that. But the Buffalo Trimmer's really giving him a war. The second set of cars. The Trimmer comes back. Now, what happened? That all-important way you come off the second set of cars is what cost the Clydesdale right there. The finish line is all the way at the end of the last set of cars, and you've got to be cognizant of that setup.
You know, last week we saw the same thing. Trucks getting out of shape coming off that second set, and it's the guy right there, like the Buffalo Trimmer and Kwasniewski. John was able to keep that truck straight off the second set, and that allowed him a come-from-behind victory. Now we're going to look at our next first-round matchup, and we'll see that man, John Moore, the no-problem Ford Bronco out of Lafayette, Tennessee, going up against one of the most popular Chevrolets on the tour, Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher out of Wadesboro, North Carolina.
Ford working the right lane, Chevrolet in the far lane now. Good qualifying time from the Chevrolet. He's got to be the odds-on favorite. However, they've got to go over the last set of cars. What's going to happen? Chevrolet dominates this round. John Moore having a little bit of problem. That short wheelbase seemed to be a negative factor for that Ford on this long track, Scott.
Carolina Crusher gets the win as Gary Porter wants to reclaim that silver flag this week here on Tuff Trax. So he'll move into the next round. Our next first-round matchup will have that big guy right there, Jesse Bergian, playing for keeps. He, of course, is out of Wyoming, Michigan, and his opponent will be the Stomper Chevrolet of Marvin Smith out of Arnold, Missouri.
Well, now, Scott, last week, playing for keeps, Jesse Bergian put the Stomper truck away twice. Marvin Smith out of Missouri wants nothing to do with it. Look at him working that far lane. Now, Bergian starts to come back on him. That second set of cars. Oh, Smith recovers. He's going to advance with a Stomper, but believe me, Bergie gave him all he wanted on that shot.
A good run for Bergie, but you can tell that Smith really learned a lot from those two losses last week to Jesse Bergian playing for keeps and really came off that second set in good shape. All right, our next matchup, there he is, Tom Bites, walking tall out of Catawissa, Pennsylvania, and his opponent will be the Jersey Outlaw Ford and Mike Wine coming back once again.
Keep your eye on Mike Wine, far side, wide Ford truck, Outlaw written on the side. He has really been flexing his muscle with the new engine. A clean run over the first set of cars. Both drivers look to really be a little bit conservative at this point. Now let's see what the Outlaw does. A little bit of bounce, jumps over. The Jersey Outlaw is going to be coming back. Mike Wine will advance into the next round, Scott.
The victory to the Jersey Outlaw and Mike Wine. Our final first-round matchup will send David Morris and the Equalizer up against the Thunder Chicken and Kid Rarig. Now, as they get ready for this matchup, we talked with David Morris about how important it is to determine which lane you're going to run in the side-by-side elimination.
The first thing I usually do is get out and see which lane that I think I might want to run in versus the other lane. One's going to be better than the other one, things like that. There's always a good lane and a bad lane. One's going to be more controllable than the other.
Well, David Morris and the Equalizer is going to put it in that right-hand lane or the near lane to us as we're watching on the video screen today.
You know, Scott, what's interesting is the good lane and bad lane to David Morris is 180 degrees off from where everybody else stands. He comes to the right side. Everybody else has been fighting to get in that left lane. Morris, with the chassis setup he has, look how smooth he goes. He works the lane that nobody else wants, and he wins out of it. This truck, this kid, and this crew definitely are going to be contenders for this national point chase. They have found something, and everybody else is still looking for it.
Well, the thing about it, too, Army, is he is able to keep so straight and so in control. And you talked about the way this truck has got the innovations, the way he can actually control the way his wheels come off that second set and keep him in good shape. Another tribute to Gary Cook, who prepared this truck.
Well, he took a year in building the truck. The engine location, the suspension, everything is unique in the sport, and it is working awfully good. Good enough to make the other drivers think about building a truck similar to the Equalizer.
We're going to see a lot more of the Equalizer later, but when we come back, we're going indoors to Charlotte, North Carolina, and the beautiful Coliseum with multi-engine modified tractor pulling right here on Tuff Trax. Stay there. The beautiful Charlotte Coliseum as Tuff Trax takes you indoors, climate-controlled and powerful action on the TNT All-American Pulling Series. You know, this is one of the real sports palaces in the country for any sporting event, but at the top of the list, the TNT All-American Pulling Series. And hey, who is that in the mean mistreater? That's not Fred Freeman. It says Ken on the helmet. It's Ken Lamont, normally driving the Midnight Express El Camino in two-wheel drive super modified truck pulling. But now he is in one of the best modified tractors in the country.
Well, travel around the country and appearing in front of millions of people might make you a little bit nervous. Ken Lamont standing to my right, he's kind of used to that. He's one of the top contenders in the super modified two-wheel drive division. It's a whole new ball game tonight for this young man. Ken, you're going to be stepping up and you're going to be driving a multi-engine tractor. Can you tell us why the move?
Well, I guess in all reality, it's more or less a favor to Fred. Fred and I have been friends for a long time. He asked me if I'd bring a tractor out here for him this weekend. His boys becoming a member of their church back home, and he was largely influenced with his wife and mother that he wasn't going tractor pulling this weekend. He was staying home for the church and his oldest boy, and he wanted to know if I'd bring a tractor for him. And you know, ever since I was a little kid, I've wanted to take one of these things down the track, so I thought, well, it'd be a good opportunity to try and just see how stupid I can look.
Well, now, the plain old toolbox vehicle you normally drive is two-wheel drive. This is two-wheel drive. You run one engine. This has three engines. You got to be a little bit nervous.
Well, I don't know if it's nervous so much as it is kind of something different to look forward to. The two-wheeler, I've said for the last year I need to get the butterflies back because we do it so much, it's just kind of like getting in a car. You know, you don't even think about it. You just get in it and do your normal program. And this is going to be different. If the front end comes up, I'm going to be pivoting different. Because on a two-wheeler, I'm sitting out on the front, and when it comes up, I go up with it. But on a tractor, you're back at the pivot point. So that's going to be a different thing. Plus, an added two motors. It's going to be a different feeling.
Ken Lamont moves into a different, maybe a little more powerful form of the sport right here. And he's letting it go, Army.
Keep an eye on the right hand. He comes out just like Fred Freeman does. Nails the throttle about 20 feet out. Good run going. A lot of wheel speed. This is a good super run for this kid.
All right, this is the test pull, but Ken Lamont, his first ever run in a modified tractor at 173.84. Everything looks good, and Lamont's going to take that pull. 173.84 is what they're now shooting at. And here comes the legend, David Banner, Mr. Chevy, out of LaFontaine, Indiana.
Now, Banner also relies on the Chevrolet horsepower, but I want you to notice where his engines are located. Lamont's vehicle had the engine stair steps, 1, 2, 3 in a row. If you look at Banner comes out, he has two engines on the left side, one engine on the right. He's working the left side of the track. A super run by Banner. Trying to go on the other side of a 173. Look at that, a 180, Scott.
Got a new leader, Mr. Chevy. The Banner brothers, David Banner laying it down. And Army Armstrong's going to run over and catch up with one of the true legends in the sport today, David Banner.
Not a whole lot to say about that run, son. You just came out smoking, working that left side to perfection. It looked awfully good to me.
Well, the Chevy turned its gear like it, you know, in the past you hadn't been turning it that good. It turned it good tonight, and I got on the brake early, and I think that helped.
The left front engine, or the left front motor, I noticed a little bit of raw fuel coming out at first, but further down the track it went away. What caused that?
Well, it was cold at the start line. That's the reason I started up early, trying to get some heat built in them, you know, and it's, I don't think I had her quite warmed up enough.
Think you'll be able to hold on and win this?
Oh, that was a good run, but boy, we got some strong competition here. I'm hoping she'll stay up there in the top 5, but there's some strong iron here this weekend.
Boy, you speak of strong iron. Here's one of those pieces of strong iron. We're talking about the All-Pro Auto Parts War Wagon in Paul Norman. And there's the Aries engine.
Yeah, the Aries engine was designed originally for the sport of boat racing by Nick Aries out of Southern California. It's an all-aluminum engine with hemispherical heads, a very expensive engine, but a very dependable engine that makes a whole lot of horsepower, and that's what it's going to take this afternoon. This combination runs 3 engines, crank to crank, and stack engines. Paul Norman, right hand on that throttle, comes out, wheel speed is there, look for a bonsai run. Again, the front engine's starting to go away just a little bit. You know there's a raw fuel coming out. I believe Dave Banner's going to stay on top of this. That 180 looks awfully good.
Just under 175 feet, and for the moment, that'll place him second behind only David Banner.
Well, Paul, you're from Charlotte, North Carolina. You've been playing this kind of dirt all your life, but that's some tough play out there tonight.
Sure is, Army. The starting line's real slick. We didn't get any kind of hole shot at all. Coming out the hole, he drifted across the track on us. Wasn't a very good run for the All-Pro War Wagon.
Paul Norman a little bit despondent. He's second now, but he knows it's going to be tough to stay there with some of the top equipment in the country about to come after him. And it starts with John Carlton and the Virginia Farmer.
Well, if anybody can read this track, I believe it's going to be this man right here. He can figure the clay out. That's a very important part of the sport. Horsepower is part of it, but you got to figure out where to put the horsepower in the track. Carlton rolls out about 15 feet before he nails the throttle, works the middle of the track where everybody else is hooking to the right. He goes to the left. Look at this guy, a new leader.
And the Virginia Farmer, John Carlton, takes the top spot, 183 feet even. There are still more top competitors to come, and we'll see a little later if anybody can beat John Carlton at Charlotte. But when we return, it's back outside to Lima, Ohio for more of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. The quarterfinal round is next. Back on Tuff Trax, I'm Scott Douglas with Armstrong, and it's more TNT Monster Truck Challenge excitement. All right, here's how our first round went from Lima, Ohio. Gravedigger in a bye run moves right into the quarterfinals. He's now going to meet Buffalo Tremor. Buffalo Tremor put away Clydesdale in the opening round. Carolina Crusher, very impressively, beat No Problem, but he'll have to do it again. No Problem comes back as the fast loser from the first round. Then, moving to the second half of the bracket for the quarterfinals, Stomper beat Playing for Keeps. He'll go up against the second fastest loser, which was Kid Rarig's Thunder Chicken. We'll see that matchup. And then to round out the quarterfinal round, Jersey Outlaw and Walking Tall. You'll remember Jersey Outlaw got that win, so he has to take on the hot shot, David Morrison Equalizer, in the quarterfinals. It's a dandy setup in the quarterfinals. Looking forward to this first matchup. Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger going up against the Buffalo Tremor. And once again, that's John Kwasniewski out of Lackawanna, New York, just outside Buffalo.
Johnny K, nearest the camera, GMC, brand new truck, all aluminum frame, picking on one of the top guns in the sport. They lead side by side. They've got a good run going. Gravedigger comes over to second, says Johnny K's a little bit out of shape, heading for one of the camera angles. Now we've got both of them in trouble. What the setup is, Buffalo Tremor's going to cross the finish line first, but he is disqualified because he ran out of bounds. Almost got into one of our camera locations. Gravedigger backs up and goes across the finish line. Now the question is, how long did it take him to do it, Scott?
Because the rule right now in the TNT Monster Truck Challenge, and it's a very controversial rule, is that the fast loser will come back in a situation where a truck is disqualified. So while Gravedigger, in essence, gets a win here, it doesn't necessarily mean he'll be back. Buffalo Tremor crossed the finish line first, but has been disqualified. So this spot in the semifinals is going to go to the fastest loser. That's something to keep in mind because Gravedigger lost a lot of time having to back up and go over the cars again.
Coming out now, the classic Chevrolet versus Ford battle. I'm looking at who's picking lane choice. It'll be your quick qualifier in this particular round. That'll be the Chevrolet. He pushes the Ford over to the right side. Now, Moore bumped off in the first round, comes back in by virtue of a quick losing situation, carrying the colors for the Ford camp. He's got to get a hold of the Crusher this time or not. He will not be coming back if he doesn't put him away, and I don't believe it's going to happen. The second set of cars is causing all kind of problems. Both trucks having to backpedal. Moore comes back on him. Scott, I couldn't tell from my viewpoint who won the race.
By a matter of inches, Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher holds on, but you got to tip your hat to that Ford Bronco and John Moore, and no problem. What a run he made, but the Carolina Crusher is able to hold him off just by inches. I'll tell you, Moore just flat let it all hang out.
John Moore headed on full boogaloo over that last set of cars. You notice both the trucks, when they hit that second jump, they really, both of them start to get into a whole lot of problem. Moore starts to bounce a whole lot. The Carolina Crusher backs out of the throttle, gets straight. Now, Moore's on the left side of your picture. Crusher kind of rolls over the cars, but here comes Moore. Oh, it was close. Like I say, from our viewpoint, I couldn't tell who won it.
Carolina Crusher barely held on, but once again, as important as getting the early lead is how you come off that second set of cars. That's where Moore had the advantage. So let's watch that second set as Kid Raring and Thunder Chicken closes to you, battling Stomper and Marvin Smith.
Another good race. Look at this Thunder Chicken closes to the camera. A beautiful run. Now, all day long, they've been having problems with that truck. They had to get somebody to help them with the fuel system. You know who was helping them? The driver of Stomper. It came back to haunt him today, Scott.
Got to call that one an upset. Kid Raring and Thunder Chicken struggling early on with a big win over Stomper, and so now Thunder Chicken has made the Final Four. For his troubles, though, he's either going to have to face the Jersey Outlaw or Equalizer. That's our final matchup here in the quarterfinal round, and this has been the truck too hot to handle so far in Lima.
too hot to handle, working out of the lane that nobody wants with an engine combination that's so unique. The engine sits right below the driver. That black box area you just saw, that's where the engine is located. Low center of gravity. They built the truck to stay close to the cars they're going over. You notice the first set of cars he just drives over. Second set, a little bit of air, not a whole lot. Now they got to be squared for that final shot. Look how quick the truck comes back. I tell you what, that kid out of New Jersey, Mike Wine, just had a super run right there. Equalizer looked like he's going to advance, but the old Ford really made him work for it, Scott.
Made him work for it, but Equalizer able to keep her straight. And again, the Gary Cook prepared truck that David Morris drives so well is in the Final Four. We know 3 of the Final Four, and we'll have to see who the fast loser is to come back and join Carolina Crusher, Thunder Chicken, and Equalizer. We'll have that later, but when we come back indoors to see if anybody can knock off the Virginia Farmer at the Charlotte Coliseum on the TNT All-American Pulling Series. More action coming right up on Tuff Trax. 7,200 pounds of raw power, modified tractors ready to go at it once again on the TNT All-American Pulling Series in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now we're halfway through the class, and it's John Carlton and the Virginia Farmer leading the way. Mr. Chevy, the War Wagon, and then Ken Lamont and the Mean Mistreater currently sitting 4th. But I'll tell you, we have 4 of the best in the business still going to come after the Virginia Farmer, and the first one up will again be Banner Brother Power as Dave Banner brings out the Fox.
When you talk about Banner Brother Power, they do now, they always have, they always will believe in the awesome Chevrolet engine to put the horsepower to the track. This tractor comes out, he runs a 3-engine combination, same number of engines, but look at the location. Dave and Ralph Banner are always experimenting with new setups. For an example, look where the sled sits. They moved it to the middle of the track. A moment ago, he ran, and he went to the left side of the track. I'm anxious to see what end they're going to end up of the track. Left or right, I don't know. Banner comes out of the middle, the horsepower is there. Front end a little bit light. They may have missed their weight just a little bit. Tractor works to the right side of the track. He's trying to get it back to the left. Not going to do it, Scott.
Now, he's going to come up short with that one. The distance, 164.11. So the Fox right now 5th, and that's last in the competition as we stand right now.
Dave, you're sitting still in that number 2 spot, but on this tractor, it seemed like you let it run for a long time. Were you trying to build heat in the 3 engines?
Yeah, I'm trying to get more heat built in it, because the more heat you get, the more power you can make out of it, you know. And I started up early to try to get some heat, and it helped. But I think where I went the track, it just wasn't up there.
So the distance to beat will still be 183 feet even for the Virginia Farmer and John Carlton. And right now coming out, John Heilman, an Ohio Gold out of Rockford, Ohio. And John's going to take a shot at trying to take the top spot away from the Virginia Farmer.
Heilman runs basically the same combination that you just saw with the Banner setup, it being Chevrolet for horsepower, crank to 2 front engines, a stack engine. However, he's coming off the left side of the track initially. You notice how close he is to the left. If it's going to drift to the right, he's got some room to do it. Heilman's laying down an awfully good shot right down that left hash mark, Scott.
Had to pull us back, though. Looked like he was afraid he might head out of bounds. May have cost him a little at the back end because he's just short, 178.16. Still not enough to take over the top spot. And here's a man who will hope to get him right here. Dave Walsh, the Irish Challenger. And I'll tell you, this Wisconsin team, the Irish Challenger, the Walsh brothers, have been outstanding as of late. Here's a guy to watch.
They just been strong-arming their way into the winner's circle with the awesome horsepower produced by the Arius engine. The Virginia Farmer sits on top of this thing, and believe me, he knows this guy's going to come after him like a street fighter. He's going to go straight for his throat. Right there he went after him, the front end up. He calls on the horsepower. Look at the ground speed, Scott.
He got it. It's a full pull. Dave Walsh and the Irish Challenger taking it out of the Charlotte Coliseum. A full pull for Dave Walsh. He's the new leader.
Dave Walsh, John Heilman just a minute ago said he made a good run. It would take a super run to beat him. I think you just laid down that super run.
That was a beautiful run I made. Everything's just right. Hit the brake a little bit, but it felt real nice.
Well, now, John Powell drew it the last of the field. He's coming out right now. Can your pull beat him?
Well, he's a good running tractor. He's capable of taking off, but he has to make a good run to do it.
You got to get past you, in other words.
No.
A native North Carolinian out of Apex, North Carolina, John Powell, will try, and he's the last man who can take it away from Dave Walsh and the Irish Challenger. Army, what do you think? Can he pull it off?
It's going to be awfully tough, and I tell you what, the horsepower is going to be there. Powell relies on the Chrysler engine to make the horsepower. Chevrolet's working. Chrysler's, we're going to find out right now, right? The Aries combination is a hot ticket. Powell's in trouble. You notice the left front wheels were cocked all the way to the right. Man, if he could have gone straight, Powell would have been in the middle of this thing, digs all the way through the dirt. You notice the blue smoke coming out? Powell will not take the win. It's going north.
Had a good run, though, and we'll see where Powell ends up in the final standings. We know, though, the victory goes to Mauston, Wisconsin's Dave Walsh and the Irish Challenger. Then it's John Carlton, the Virginia Farmer. Mr. Chevy with Dave Banner third. John Powell coming up fourth. John Heilman's Ohio Gold rounds out the top five. But the victory, once again, goes to the Walsh brothers, and this time Dave Walsh and his modified tractor out of Wisconsin. Army Armstrong with tonight's winner from Charlotte Coliseum, Dave Walsh.
You're going to be running on the summer tour with us. Will you make any changes when we go outdoors on those long 300-foot tracks?
Yeah, we will. We make a few changes. I don't want to say right now, but we're going to make some changes. I think we'll be real competitive this summer.
Looking at it one more time, the Irish Challenger really did lay it down.
Yeah, Scott, when he left the start line, as soon as he full throttled up, the front end came and he went like a rocket on the other end in Charlotte.
The only man to get a full pull, and that means he takes home the big paycheck. Dave Walsh and the Irish Challenger. After this break, it's back to Lima, Ohio, and we're down to 4. The semifinals of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge is coming your way next here on Tuff Trax. Buckle up those seatbelts, fasten on that shoulder harness. We're about to go to the semifinals of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Now, the unique situation of Buffalo Tremor being disqualified brought back a fast loser, so No Problem gets a third shot at Carolina Crusher in the semifinals. That'll be one of our matchups. The other half of the bracket, we're going to be seeing, once again, Thunder Chicken, the surprise, the guy who upset Stomper, Kid Rarig, against David Morris, and probably the favorite in this Final Four, the equalizer, last week's winner, here on Tuff Trax. Now, Army, coming back, No Problem gets a third shot at Carolina Crusher. And right now, you can see the doors open on the Crusher, and there's a lot of activity around the Chevrolet.
Yeah, what's happened? We're down at trackside, and what happened? Mike Wine, the driver of the Jersey Outlaw, noticed as the Chevrolet was going to the starting line, some type of a liquid was squirting out underneath it. Now, all the drivers, you notice, Gary Cook from the Equalizers there, Wine's there from the Jersey Outlaw. All the drivers are helping him. An automatic transmission line came off. The driver of the truck himself, Gary Porter, there working on it in the yellow driver suit, was not aware of that situation. He was ready to run. Dennis Anderson, look at that. Everybody's helping him to get into the final. Meanwhile, John Moore waits patiently on the other side of the track. They've been here before. The question is, can the Chevrolet make the call? There is a time limit. If he does not get the truck started and to the line in a certain amount of time, he's going out.
5 minutes is the time he has, and I'll tell you, they're really running against it. As you can see, Anderson up inside the truck from the top end, and Porter is underneath of it. And right now, that's the suspense on everybody's mind. Will the Crusher be able to go? And they hear power. Indeed, the Carolina Crusher has got it fired, and we are going to have a race in the semifinal for the third time today. Carolina Crusher and No Problem. Let's see if John Moore has an advantage after the problems for Carolina Crusher at that starting line. You know, John Moore almost caught him last time, Army, on that last set of cars.
It's going to be exactly a replay of what we've seen before. Moore's in his same lane. If anybody knows the right lane, it's going to be this man. Like you say a moment ago in the last round, he almost caught the Carolina Crusher out of the left lane. The Crusher, he doesn't know if the truck is set and ready to go. They put all the liquids back in, side by side they leave. Chevrolet versus Ford. The Crusher comes out awfully good in that far lane. The winner's going to go into the final. Who's it going to be, Scott?
It's going to be Carolina Crusher, and Gary Porter holds on for the victory. This time he did not get crossed up coming off that second set of cars. Look at that. John Moore could barely get the No Problem Ford Bronco stop. He hits the guardrail and the post, but he should be okay. Nonetheless, it'll be Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher heading into the championship matchup.
Well, Gary, going to the finals, but it just seems to get harder and harder each week you go along. What happened on the starting line? A lot of action out there.
It was on the starting line. I blew a transmission line as I was pulling up on the line, and if it wasn't for all the other nice drivers to help me, I would have never made the race. You know, really, we're a lot of friends back in the pits, but once we hit the line, you know, we don't have any friends. We're really competitive, and we all competition when we get to the line.
And I know that's an aspect of this sport the fans in Lima, Ohio really appreciate. A great race in the win to Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher. But we know Crusher's going into the championship match, although John Moore really gave him a good run in no problem. Gary Porter has a new design of tire that he's running on his truck. So let's get an update on that from Gary Porter of Carolina Crusher.
Tire design and size is obviously important in any kind of motorsport, and monster trucks are no exception. Gary Porter, you've made some major changes in your tire design and wheel design. Can you explain that to us?
Yes, I was running the style of XT's Super Terra grips, and they had a flatter bar, and I went to the Super Terra grips. It's a lighter tire, and the wheels is a new design they just come out with. It's a lighter one-piece wheel, and so I lost a total of 744 pounds. So
you lost about 8 to 10% or 7 to 8% of your total weight just by making a 4-tire change and wheel change.
Yes, that's a lot of weight just to change tires. And another thing I done when I put in the new wheels, I had the wheels narrowed. They're 32 inches wide instead of 36, so it'll make the tires stand up taller, and I can get more travel out of the tires before the rims bottom out on the ground.
Will a truck physically handle any different? You as a driver, will you have an opportunity to tell if this is going to make the truck react different in certain situations?
Yes, it should. Having the wheels a little narrow with the tires rounded, I might have a trouble, you know, in tight turns and stuff. It might make it want to come up on one side easier. I'm not sure yet.
Amount of air you run in these tires, people are amazed when we tell them how much air pressure you run, but exactly how many pounds of air do you run in this big tire?
Well, it varies from course to course, you know, the ramp designs and everything, but most of the time it's from 8 to 12 pounds of tire pressure.
That tire pressure in that new design has carried Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter into the final, where he waits to see who his opponent will be. It'll either be the Thunder Chicken on the far part of the screen, or closest to us and about to pull up tight to that start line, the Equalizer and David Morris, and he obviously is the truck to beat. But Thunder Chicken surprised us last round, Army, when he upset Marvin Smith and Stomper.
Well, last week he had a whole lot of problems getting his engine jetted right. The man that helped him was Marvin Smith, driver of the Stomper. He's already put him on the trailer. This is the furthest he's been in eliminations all year long, but believe me, he has picked on the bad boy in this sport to pull up next to, but he's giving him a real good run. Equalizer, not really. Look at this, side by side. The final jump's going to tell it.
Wow. Sensational matchup. You gotta tip your hat to Thunder Chicken. A great run for Kid Rarig, but he falls just barely short. The winner will be the Equalizer as David Morris fights like the dickens to hang on to that silver flag. So we've got, I think, what we expected when we started, although it was tough for both of them to get there. Carolina Crusher against Equalizer. Army, how do you see that championship?
Well, Scott, Lima, Ohio is going to see an all-Chevrolet final for the second week in a row. This is the way it's going to line up. Equalizer, he's your current national point leader. He has the flag by virtue of winning last week. Going against him is going to be the Carolina Crusher. He's currently number 2 in the national points chase, and he wants that flag. We talked to Gary Porter a moment ago, and he said if that kid's going to keep the flag, he's going to have to earn it. It's going to be a battle. It's coming up next.
Thanks, Army. We're really going to look forward to that action, and we'll have the final shortly, but we'll also bring you some highlights from TNT Monster Truck Racing from other areas of the country. That's coming up when we return on Tuff Trax. The capacity crowd in Lima, Ohio, and right there in your living room on Tuff Trax, the TNT Monster Truck Challenge has again come down to a final of Equalizer and Carolina Crusher. And we'll have that championship matchup coming up momentarily, but wanted to review some great TNT Monster Truck action from another part of the country. We're going to go to the Citadel, Charleston, South Carolina, and these same two trucks were in the semifinals, Army. It was Equalizer against Carolina Crusher to see who would go to the championship at the Citadel.
The winner's going to go to the final. Who's it going to be on a short track? Only 2 jumps. You know, there's the first jump. Now, both trucks trying to pull it out far lane. Equalizer goes the second jump, but look how quick. They have to stop the truck. Normally, the field is used for football. Who's going to be in the left lane for the final? USA 1.
So he goes up against Equalizer, but it didn't matter to David Morris. How tough you could see why this kid's got the lead on the national point standings as Equalizer in Charleston, South Carolina beat USA 1.
All year long, the bad lane for everybody else has been a good lane for him.
So we're back to Lima, Ohio, and again, we'll see if David Morris and the Equalizer can do it again. We saw him win last week here at Lima on Tuff Trax. You just saw highlights from him winning at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina. Can he do it again and pad that point lead? We're about to find out. Equalizer and Carolina Crusher. A week ago, Equalizer beat the Crusher.
Just a minute ago, when they went into the vehicles, the driver of the Carolina Crusher looked at me and said, I'm going after him. I'm going to get the flag back. Well, actions speak louder than words. The flag's on the equalizer. The Crusher moves into the lane. Yellow truck, far side, quick qualifying time of the night, lane choice. He's where he wants to be. The equalizer's where he wants to be. Porter is coming after this kid in the equalizer with a vengeance. He wants him in the worst way.
A great start, and it looks like, again, Equalizer has himself a good shot on that right lane.
Keep an eye on Porter. He's setting up for the final. Now he goes. Porter pulls the trigger and goes into the winner's circle. Gary Porter did not care about the first two jumps. He just wanted to be setting straight for the final, and it paid off for him, Scott.
He left himself just stable enough off that second jump, but with plenty of momentum, and then he really nailed the throttle, let it all hang out over that final set of cars, and it was all Carolina Crusher, and I think everybody a little bit surprised at the relative ease with which Carolina Crusher seemed to get the victory over Equalizer.
Yeah, but the Equalizer, Morris did a beautiful job. He came off of that second jump really out of shape. The truck responded good, but Porter didn't care about the second jump. He was just looking at the far end of the track where the finish line is.
Both our weeks here in Lima, Army, I think that's the first time we've seen Morris really get out of shape on that second set, and Porter was able to come away and get the win over him.
Yeah, it was an awfully good run by both drivers, but Porter deserves the win. He was keyed for it all night long. My congratulations go out to him.
He got the win here in Lima, but still needs to get a few more over Equalizer as David Morris holds a 20-point lead. Gravedigger certainly is still very much alive in the national points chase. Nightlife and no problem. Notice John Moore going into the top 5, I think for the first time this year. Mad Dog, Stomper, Wild Hair, Clydesdale, and our defending national champion just 10th on the 1989 TNT Monster Truck Challenge standings. It really is quite a battle right now for the top spot. And Gary Porter, he hasn't taken over the point lead yet, but what he's going to do is when we come back next week on Tuff Trax, Army, he's going to have that silver flag flying proudly once again.
Yeah, he worked awfully hard for the flag. The crowd's getting involved in it. You know, this flag is really turning into something. These guys, it's a bragging rights is what it is for the next week, Scott.
Gary Porter, Carolina Crusher, out of Wadesboro, North Carolina, comes north to Lima, Ohio. It's a long haul, and it's a long pull to bring that beautiful truck all the way up out of North Carolina. But I'm going to tell you, the trip back gets a lot shorter because that silver flag's attached to the back as Gary Porter comes up with a victory here on Tuff Trax, and he does it the way he wanted to do it, beating David Morris, an Equalizer who got him a week ago.
You know, Scott, it's kind of interesting. It's turning out to be a rivalry between these two guys. They just went nose to nose like two old-time street fighters with the two monster trucks we're going to have to watch this year. First and second in points, the way they finished tonight. The flag's going to the next race on the back of the Crusher, but can he hold on to it?
One more time, here's how it went in the championship. Closest to you, the Equalizer. David Morris had the edge, but he got a little out of shape off that second set of cars, and Gary Porter hits the throttle, and Carolina Crusher takes the victory here on Tuff Trax. So it's the Crusher flying high over the competition this week in Lima, Ohio. But next week, we know we're coming right back at you with more of the best in monster truck racing and TNT All-American Pulling Series action right here on Tuff Trax. We'll see you then.